Uh, Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, as people have joined from various places. I, Sandeep Wankhede, welcome you all for this 12th chapter of TRIZtalks. You all know that we always have this session on the last Friday of every month. This forum is actually there to overcome the common doubts which may of many of us have, like how to keep your need to innovate active, how are other managing the learning curve, how would TRIZ help us in building a better career, is it possible for us to excel in education, if we practice TRIZ, if it is possible to go for higher studies to learn TRIZ, and we try to get various people who are practicing TRIZ. One of them is Supriya Gosavi, and she is working with John Deere. She is basically a mechanical engineer with the 15 plus years of experience, and that too in multiple domains at automotive, agricultural industries. She is specialized in leading cross-functional global teams to achieve product cost optimization. She is level one, a TRIZ professional. She has hands-on exposure to a variety of domains like quality engineering, supply chain management, manufacturing engineering, and value engineering. She is also a certified value methodology associated by Invest, and she specializes in new product development program of ECC supply base for agricultural machines and leads the value engineering team for product cost optimization. So I now request Supriya to share her experiences with TRIZ and how this TRIZ has affected her professional life and maybe as well as personal life. So over to you,
Sure.
Supriya.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to India team. This is first time I am being presenter for the trees talk, I would say. Though I have exposure to these different domains, I might not call myself as an expert. So what today I'm going to do is basically sharing you guys with the experience on the cost optimization projects. And when I got certified or exposed to trees 2 years back, how that helped. That story probably I would be bringing here. Definitely, as I am currently leading value engineering team, design cost optimization or value optimization is our focus right now when it comes to my job. And there had been multiple problem solving techniques me and my team has been working upon, and where trees stands out, that is something I would like to correlate with today's discussion. In case you have any comments, questions, feel free to ask or put it in the chat box. I would share my screen. Just let me know if you are able to see my screen.
It's loading.
Sure.
Yeah, we can see it. Okay.
Yeah. So this is about our today's topic, I would say. So starting with definitely, direct material cost reduction must be a topic very closer to everyone, I would say. And why not? Because it comes to the profitability, keeping the competitive advantage into the market. And that is how I think for every manufacturing industry or service industry, cost reduction is really very important. When we talk about cost reduction, there are multiple aspects into it. And if I would like to categorize the major aspects of it, I would say there could be sourcing optimization, there could be manufacturing strategy, and there could be product design improvements. And considering these different aspects, basically, even when it comes to the cost, there are different aspects into cost. It is direct material, it is the landed cost, we have to consider logistic piece, we have to consider the market situations and whatnot. So we'll take some time into these three areas quickly. When it comes to sourcing optimization, I'm sure you all must be aware of this 80 Karni's purchasing chessboard, which gives us these 64 methods on finding various opportunities to optimize the sourcing to bring down the cost. And specifically, if you consider my exposure, I have been always working into the ECC sourcing, that is the economic cost country supply base. And definitely that economic cost country supply base brings us lot of advantage because the labor cost is a really big advantage. However, considering current last 2 3 years scenario, the sourcing has not played a long-term player, I would say, into the cost reductions. Typically, these sourcing decisions are also dependent on the market or the commodity prices. Then, specifically, if I talk about the economic cost country supply base, it is always that the big customers in US or Europe for that matter, they are not willing to have their critical components to economic cost countries because of multiple reasons. It could be the freight involved, it could be the long lead times into the transits, it could be also the technology involved sometimes into the products or manufacturing processes. So I would say though sourcing optimization plays a vital role, I would call it as a short-term player where you can find out some quick wins or some low-hanging opportunities when it comes to cost reduction opportunities. Next could be manufacturing strategy. So here I might not talk much, but definitely make versus buy or considering the different aspects into the manufacturing, going for lean, the going for the consolidations, those kind of things would come into picture. Specifically, when it comes to any manufacturing unit, everyone would want to have the highest speed, highest productivity, highest efficiency without compromising on quality and at lesser cost, right? And again, for all these things, there is ask for huge labor workforce, which is again operational cost, or sometimes you need to have a really nice, highly equipped uh, manufacturing machines or the assembly lines, and also sometimes cutting on the number of shifts. Those could be some of the nuggets which come to my mind. However, again, this doesn't sound like very easy activity when it comes to the cost reduction opportunities from the sustainable solution perspective. Next one is my favorite, as I'm currently responsible for the product design teams. And because I'm part of value engineering, definitely the product design is very close. And when we talk about the product design, definitely we have so many criterias which are given to our design engineers. We want to have the parts or the products designed which are nicely manufacturable, they are reliable, there is sustainable solutions from the environmental perspective. We want to have design for costing, we want to see design for distribution so that we are not just shipping air. So all these things are coming into picture, and when we want to find a golden mid out of this, it becomes a very tedious job sometimes, because when you are starting any new product development, definitely you are not completely designing a complete product. So there is always something which is coming as a legacy from the historical earlier products or earlier machines. There are carry forwarding parts, you have to serve the aftermarket requirements. So you are not talking about something which is actually getting updated or getting started from the scratch for any new product development or any new technology project as such. In that case, it really is difficult to find out the optimized ways, I would say, to find out cost reduction opportunities. And I would say, though the product design is one which is playing the important or vital role, there are still limitations into it. Nowadays, we are also digging into so much data analytics and machine learnings, and we want to see that data aspect as well coming into our design methodologies. We have generative design, we have topology optimization, so many analysis based actions as well happening. But then again, I'm coming again back and back to one thing, that when it comes to scratch design from scratch, it is not still the I would say practical solution. So when we talk about all these things, what do you think where the focus should be put to get the maximum cost reduction, or to get to the ideal solution for the best optimized product? What would be your opinions? You can unmute if you want to participate. I'm completely fine.
Yes, basically it is an interactive session, so participant may unmute themselves and
Yeah,
share their views and ask the question as and when they have.
that would also help me to steer to the required level of discussion, I would say, so that it is a win-win for both me as well as the participants.
Sandeep sir, Harshi here.
Yeah, please go
Can I
ahead.
just share my thought? Good afternoon, ma'am. Yeah, just to take this ahead, what I thought based on your question is that to maintain all the critical functions in that product which you are designing, if you focus in that manner, actually you will get the required deliverable from that product and with a minimal or optimum cost.
Right. Agree. Completely agree. And yeah, that is where I want to bring the attention. Whenever there is any new product development or any new product launch or program is happening, probably the number of efforts we are putting against the actual impact of these efforts into the final product or the cost, I would say the majority influencer always becomes the product design. And there are multiple aspects to it. And that's the reason I feel whenever we are talking about the direct material cost reduction, the product design is the area where we all should be focusing to utmost care. And also when I say utmost care, also the timing is very important. When we are talking about touching any design and that part is already part of productionization, and we want to touch that part now for from the CI perspective or the continuous improvement perspective or running change perspective, that time probably though we have so many good ideas, we might not be able to have all those ideas, because along with the product design changes, there are a lot of other costs or investments incurring because of the lead time or the cost into the testings and validations. We also need to have sometimes the prototyping done freshly. We need to have the, if there is anything coming from the technology aspect, then we have to consider the integration part, where that technology module is going to be fitted on entire machine. So all those aspects are also playing very important role. And what I have seen personally in my experience, whenever we are talking about getting the best out of the product design optimization, we need to get integrated from our trees perspective as early as possible. And in John Deere we have a term called as shifting your focus towards the left. So if I have a product development cycle from left to right, as early as I get integrated into the early product development stage, it becomes easier for the product design as well as the organization to make right decisions in terms of overall program target costing, finding out the best designs or the first time right designs to meet those program requirements, as well as we are actually optimizing on the resources of the organization from R&D perspective. So with this, I would say when it is coming to the product design optimization, definitely many of us have worked upon many problem solving techniques. And there are many systems engineering, Six Sigma, design thinking, we have brainstorming, we have value analysis, value methodology, which we call, and we have TRIZ, which I have recently got exposed to. And when we talk about this specifically, I would say all of these have their own unique methodologies and ways to work upon. And of course, they are coming with their own pros and cons. Today, we will be talking about specifically TRIZ and how this TRIZ thing has helped us, I would say, from the value improvement perspective, as well as there are many cases where my team has been able to find out the patent opportunities. And I'll not take more time here, and we will go to the TRIZ. I would say the pioneer of TRIZ, Henrik Alschuler. So he's the guy, along with his team, invented this methodology. And basically, when we are talking about TRIZ, basically what he and his team tried to do was uh, they analyzed multiple patents historically, and what they tried to see was basically in these patents for different infinite kind of problem statements, there was, whenever breakthrough solutions or patents, what they tried to see was that there is always something which is conceptually coming as a similar approach or similar solution. And from that study, this team has found out these 40 concepts, where these 40 concepts are today part of this TRIZ toolkit. And basically, whenever any problem statement is given to us, what we are trying to do is our problem statement looking from those earlier problems, and whatever existing solutions are there, we're trying to just see which are those generic methodologies could help us into finding out our specific solutions. And any one of you would like to add here from the TRIZ perspective on these 40 concepts? We have a specific slide where we will be talking about those concepts, but any specific comments here? Well, if not, I would go to the next slide. Yeah. So here we would be talking about these TRIZ philosophy, and exactly what I was talking about. So if I consider my problem and the traditional method of solving this problem, basically what comes to my mind, or conventionally what the team has been working upon, was the corrective action methodologies or why analysis, or sometimes horizontal deployment from the earlier case studies where we have seen the success stories. Brainstorming is also very popular tool where the multifunctional, cross-functional team members come together and they bring their expertise to come to a solution. However, what I have seen personally into the brainstorming sessions, that whenever people are attending the sessions, they are bringing the wisdom from their earlier exposures. And with that, there is one con, or I would say, that is basically we tend to limit to what has been exposed to the people who are participating into the brainstorming session. And whereas when I talk about trees as a methodology, definitely what we are trying to do is basically the complete worldwide problem statements. We are trying to framework those into the trees toolkit, I would say. And I remember the session from Shri sir when we learned that that whenever we have any problem, we have to first put significant amount of time into understanding that problem from different perspectives. We have to go to the element level, put our efforts into understanding the functions, put the contradictions, put the trimming, and based on that, when the actual problem is framed, we just try to see how those problem statements are correlating with the problems into the world's generalized problem statements, I would say. This method is called abstraction, or this process is called abstraction. And when we are talking about this, basically we are trying to come to a point that whatever we are trying to resolve is already done by someone in the past. Probably the nature of the problem is not exactly the same. The problem statement might not look exactly the same superficially, but the actual contradictions, what we are trying to kill or we are trying to resolve, those are nothing but coming from those generic frameworks. And that is where I feel TRIZ is really giving us a sure shot confidence that the solution where we are attempting our problem resolution method is going to be the best solution. The chances are high that it is a breakthrough or innovative problem solution, and there are chances high that the business impact it is going to make is going to be huge. So I would say this is the basic philosophy of TRIZ, which most of you have experienced. And based on this, my team as well has been working on to multiple value improvement projects, I would say, and finding out the opportunities. Any quick questions or comments here? Uh, are we good on time, Sandeep sir?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sure.
Participants, please keep it like interactive. That would be
Yeah, I
great.
mean, I was
Yeah.
told that this is going to be a very interactive session, and I'm not experiencing it somehow.
Yeah, Mr. Vidit Chobe is asking for some books on TRIZ. Definitely, we'll share those list with you,
Sure.
Vidit ji. No problem.
Yeah, I'll be taking some notes. Yeah. So coming to our next activity is about these 40 principles. I would be going out of the slideshow mode as this slide looks little busy. I would be opening the Excel sheet, which was shared by Gentries during my training session. And yes, I hope you are able to see the Excel sheet now.
No, still your PPT is visible.
Okay. Uh,
You may have to toggle it.
yeah,
There was a glance, but it went off.
let me do it again. Are you able to see now?
Yes.
Yes.
So yes, this is the heart of the TRIZ, I would say, where we were talking about framing our problems, our specific problems to the earlier repository of problems, and then finding those to fit to the available solutions. And when I say that, there are these 40 innovation principles. And whenever we are coming to the problem solving stage into TRIZ, where we have to find out the solution, these 40 principles are helping us, I would say, to find out the solutions. And these are the systematic ways, I would say. So whenever we are going to any specific element level contradiction, and we are trying to kill that contradiction, so basically whatever solutions we are going to bring, Mr. Alshuler and his team uh, wants to say that there is nothing beyond these 40 principles. So if I want to correlate these to all the available patents in the world and the solutions which they have found out, if we want to have the summarization of those solutions, it is nothing beyond these 40 principles. And that is something very hitting hard, I would say, to me as an engineer. So we have been always talking about that I want to bring something new out of the box, creative. But actually, we are not doing that. What we are trying to do basically is whatever the basic conceptual solutions are available, we are just trying to tweak those from our problem and our circumstances, and we are trying to find out the solutions, I would say. Um, so yeah, coming to, I might not go into all these 40 principles, but what I would like to say is many a times you will also find out that many of these can be applicable for us. And that is the reason I would say when we are using the TRIZ framework or the TRIZ navigator, which we are leveraging from GenTRIZ for the problem solving, we are coming to the cause effect chain analysis phase where there are key disadvantages on which we are trying to eliminate those key disadvantages, and we are trying to resolve the contradictions. And when we are talking about that piece, uh, the one which is actually hitting to eliminate the contradiction or the key disadvantage, I would say those are the ones we can consider from the uh, these 40 innovative principles. Sometimes we are also trying to see that one might be killing the another solution, so we have to find out from that holistic system perspective as well. uh, any any specific comments or statements here?
There is a question in message.
Uh-huh.
May I help you to read it? Do you
Sure, sure.
always follow the TRIZ navigator process, or do you sometimes pick just fragments out of the TRIZ toolbox?
Yeah, so I would say practically sometimes it is not possible to follow the complete trees navigator tool, and we are sometimes tempted to go to the partial approach. But the experience what we have seen that whenever we are using the navigator, it is not missing any piece from the analysis. So I would say the answer to your question, we are doing it both the ways, but the actual solution or the more beneficial approach is always using the trees navigator. How that helps us is basically whenever we are doing manual things, we also tend to miss some of the steps. Sometimes the assemblies or the parts or the complexity of the problem statement is so that there are multiple parts involved, and when it becomes so much humongous data and the interactions between each element to be studied, then it becomes highly impossible, I would say, practically, without using the trees navigator. So I would highly recommend those trees navigators are really helpful, and it's like they navigate you to the next step. You can't, and the next step is really dependent on the earlier step, so you can't miss any of those stages, which is the beauty of navigator. So I would say yes, definitely navigator is the one which we need to be not compromising on.
Thank you. And host, I hope she has given an appropriate answer to your question. Meanwhile, there is one more question from Mr. MC Ang. How do you form a contradiction? Can you share your experience or maybe share an example?
Sure. I do not have any example to share because I'm not representing John Deere here today. So I will not be able to talk about any practical projects on which we worked upon. However, I have a slide where we will be talking about contradiction. Is that fine?
Yes, we understand the limitations. So
Sure.
let's go ahead.
Okay. So with that, I will move back to the slides.
क्या हो रहा है?
देखिए म्यूट है कि नहीं है। Let me know when you are able to see the slides again.
Visible.
Sure. Yeah. So with that, I would say these are the key concepts when it comes to the methodology or the key pillars into trees. The very first is about the function analysis. And as I was talking about, if we are talking about a complete assembly, what we will have to do is putting significant amount of time into each of the element into this assembly. When we are talking about different components, how the interaction between different components and the parameters is happening. There are also other methodologies to assign the function, like the value methodology, where we are talking about the verb and noun. However, I found trees methodology more specific, because we are actually talking about the physical interaction between the parameters. So the very famous example, if I want to talk from the brush, so any attempts on what brush does for our teeth? Anyone wants to attempt? What is the how would we have the function analysis, or how we assign the function for toothbrush?
Or to make it simple, what is the function of a toothbrush?
Yeah. I'm not a seasoned speaker, so probably yes, you need to help me
No,
out
no, I'm
here.
just trying to make it simpler. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let me try. Sandeep sir and ma'am. So it moves the plaque away from your teeth.
Yes. Yeah, that is completely fine. Right? So we are talking about basically something physically happening here, right? And that is how this function analysis is going to be very important here. It is, I would say, heart of the entire activity. And when we are talking about these functions, uh, each of the component into the entire assembly or entire product are going to interact with each other. There are going to be some functional interactions with each other, and then again, when we say functions, there are going to be also some harmful functions, some useful functions. And when we are talking about these useful and harmful functions, we had a question on contradiction, right? So the coexistence of having this harmful functions and useful functions in the system, I would say, is a contradiction. And basically, there are also two types of these contradiction. I might not be expert enough to talk on the actual technicalities into the engineering contradictions and physical contradictions, but that is where the contradiction formulation happens, I would say. And the coexistence of these two things into the same parameter or same element, we have to resolve. And when there is a complete interaction matrix between each of the element or each of the parameter, uh, at the end, what we are trying to see is the cause effect and chain modeling. Example, I can remember the navigator, where we are coming to the next step and we are asking about the causes, and then there is one uh, last hard stop where you are not able to find beyond that. And that is what we are calling as a key disadvantage into this cause effect and chain analysis. And this key disadvantage is something we all have to target and kill while finding the solution, I would say. So after that, trimming, uh, again, very important aspect into the toolkit of trees, I would say. Basically, what we are trying to do here is simplify the entire modeling into the small pieces, and formulating the solutions from the trimming aspect. So any quick points here, or any comments, statements, or experiences?
There is a reply to your previous question, what is function of a toothbrush? Dr. Bhavin Shah has stated that it is soft on gums but can clean well. So any comment from your side as a TRIZ practitioner?
Yeah, so see I mean we definitely it cleans well. That is what it is doing. But when it comes to the trees terminology of assigning the function, we have to look from the parameters perspective, what is actually physically happening. And that is the reason I would say, from a trees practitioner perspective, I will give full marks to the earlier answer, that it moves or it removes the plaque or the dirt particles from the teeth. So that is more technical way of looking at this particular toothbrush bristles problem statement as a function assignment.
Yes, that is a very apt answer.
Right. And that is the reason I remember when we have spent significant amount of time onto function analysis, because at the end, when we are talking about my problem statement, be it a cost reduction or design optimization or bringing a new technology, as the end customer, what are our important functions or good functions or basic functions in value methodology language? We cannot compromise on that. However, there are few things which are inherently happening into the system, like the contradiction or the harmful functions. Take this brush example. The brush, sometimes if the bristles are hard, they are doing good job into removing the plaque, but they are also hurting sometimes the gums, and they are making the gums to bleed. So this hardness, which is the parameter of the bristle, I would say is a harmful function. And then when I'm talking about brush manufacturing as my problem statement, I need to eliminate this harmful function of bleeding gum. At the same time, I cannot compromise on making the bristle so soft that it is compromising on its basic assigned function, that is removing the plaque. That is how I would say TRIZ is simplified. And I hope that justifies the question from your side, Mr. Bhavin.
Yes, and there lies the contradiction then.
There lies the contradiction. Absolutely. And I would say, as a practitioner, what we will have to see, do you apply trees only? What was the question? It just flashed away.
Yeah, it is. Do you apply TRIZ only with TRIZ trained colleagues in your organization while you are working in JD? I think it's in that way.
Yes, yes. So it's I would say a difficult question to answer. At the moment, I have 16 value engineers working with me. Not all of them have been trained formally or certified, I would say, for level 1. However, I have planned to do that. But basic concept and I would say heart of trees, everyone knows as one of the problem solving techniques. But if I want to take most from my team members or colleagues, definitely getting them formally certified would be always better proposal. So currently we do not have all my team members certified. I would say 5 to 6 are certified, and remaining are planned to get in phases.
That shows how much valuable you find TRIZ.
Definitely, yes. And as I said, when it comes to my OKRs or value metrics, definitely many a times touching the design and making something from scratch is not possible, because you're already into a production machine which is 10 years 5 years down the line running, and you can't suddenly change so many things, because there is a lot of investment required from the testing perspective, from the tooling, suppliers availability, and whatnot. So sometimes we just try to find out some quick wins which are superficial enough. And I think that time, knowing this at back of the mind and having this philosophy to find out those superficial solutions still helps. But when we are talking about something which is early PDP program, where we are starting something from scratch, or we are looking for something which is a long-term or sustainable solution, definitely going through a proper TRIZ methodology and taking advantage of all these tools and navigator really helps, I would say. So should we move to the next slide?
Yeah, he's appreciating that your statement is very helpful and thanking
Sure.
you as well. Thank you,
Thank you.
host.
Thank you. Thank you, host. Yes, so I think with this, I'm coming to some of my last slides. Why trees? I think by now, all of you might have coming to a point to appreciate that trees is definitely going to help us this step-by-step approach. I think what I said just back is something depicting here on the slide. And many a times what I have seen that we are very much fond of doing something which worked for us in past, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we are talking about the best or the ideal solution for our given problem. And that is where I think trees helps us, because what it is doing basically is what so many people or so many genius people in past have done in their inventions. Basically the crux of that is these 40 principles in TRIZ. And as an individual, if I'm looking at a problem from my own individual perspective, I might be attempting to see what has worked for me in past, but when I'm talking about these principles and these concepts, I'm making it a point that I'm looking and going through each of those stages, and I'm not missing any even minute level of detailing when it comes to the problem modeling or function modeling or contradiction or the key disadvantage. So I think that is the beauty of any methodology, but specifically trees I would say is my favorite because of these reasons. I think we have the next slide on the advantages. So yeah, trees does not continue the solution with compromises. We are ought to remove all the contradiction to arrive at the best solution. When we are not talking about something which is a quick win or low hanging opportunity, digging, uh, you need not reinvent the wheel. And again, all those 40 principles are taking us back to all the inventions. That means it is already done by someone. You need not do trial and error. You need not put lot of R&D efforts. You need not put a lot of investment. It is already proven. What you need to do is the finding out the best one which fits your problem statement. You do not depend on trial and error or your earlier success stories. And TRIZ ensures first time right design, hence saving on new product development stage and lesser lead time. It is quicker to introduce to market, I would say, whenever it comes to new product introduction. And yeah, very important, TRIZ makes innovation very less risky, because when we are talking about organizations like John Deere or any big MNCs or big organizations where there is a lot of technology and innovation focus, people are putting a lot of efforts, lot of manpower, lot of technology, lot of $1 million values, but the outcome of these R&D also is very important. And that is the reason I feel this last statement, which TRIZ is making innovation less risky, is very important. The chances of the solution which is being found is going to be definitely much more impactful than any other superficial approach. So yeah, this was my last slide. And any comments or anything, if you all would like to discuss, I'm more than
Participants, please
happy.
feel free to, yeah, interact. Our basic format is that it should be more of an interaction.
Yes, and that is how the slides as well I had prepared. Yes, one
Right.
disclaimer about the slide contents. So some of the contents were taken from the Trees Level 1 training where I learned trees 2 years back, and some of the Google images for the pictorial depiction of the concepts.
Okay. Sandeep sir, may I?
Please, please go ahead.
Yeah. Ma'am, thanks a lot for this presentation and sharing your experience in this journey, okay, of the trees. Uh, as a student of business trees, I will be very keen to know. I mean, you started your presentation with a note that to apply the trees for cost optimization and looking cost concept uh, at the center of the, you can say, exercise, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to engineering trees, it focuses on the quality function so that cost is naturally a byproduct of it, or it is a one of the consequences. When it comes
Right.
to business trees, we focus more on the cost and other aspects, of course, through the three trees methodology. So
Yes.
if it is possible for you uh, to share any your experience that during the design stage or then after design stage, when it comes to commercial production stage and etc. So whatever cost you must have estimated in the beginning, how it got evolved to the best of your estimate or
Possibility.
something like that. What
Yes.
if you can
Yes.
share some few experiences, because I will be more keen to know that
Sure.
aspect.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure. And definitely, I mean, it is very important that whenever we are talking about all these methodologies, practically how it has made impact is very important. And I would say, even when we started utilizing trees, we never considered cost as our primary focus, though the cost reduction was the target. And this is pretty much same with all other methodologies which we use in John Deere. Typically, what we would like to see is from the design perspective or the design features optimization perspective, what is that which we can optimize? And whenever I'm talking about any assembly or any child part for that matter, the crux or the heart around which the solutions has been brainstormed or ideated was always the function or the intended function. So in trees, I would say we call it as a function assignment or the useful functions. In value methodology, we call it as basic functions. So though the cost reduction is the goal or the basic motive, we have never thought that I want to reduce the cost, so I will reduce certain kilograms or I will take out
Yes.
these things from the machine. It has never been the case.
Yes.
And that is the reason, as you rightly said, whenever we have tried to find out any solutions, it has been always better design, and cost reduction has been the supplementary or the secondary metric to touch upon. And then the basic intention was always being either improving the value or not compromising the earlier specifications in terms of the required performance from that particular product. Coming to the costing piece, definitely the actuals and the planned, sometimes we see mismatches. However, what I have seen, whatever we had planned, we have always got better results even from the cost perspective. So
Okay.
I hope that answers.
Yeah, certainly, sir. I mean, thank you
Sure.
for that answer. And that just I'm sharing thought during while doing certain exercises in this
Mm-hmm.
trees course for
Mm-hmm.
business trees. There was one you can say problem where there were a couple of contradictions and solutions were to be given as an exercise. And as I said, then in that exercise, I tried to do in such a way that for each of the contradiction, if whatever solution we think of to remove that contradiction, there are advantages, there are disadvantages, which you had rightly said that there are useful functions and harmful functions. So
Yeah.
everything has cost in one or the other way, right?
Right.
So by not by applying any rupee value, but by giving certain scale point on the scale. That okay,
Mm-hmm.
if we apply this solution, then we'll have say on 1 to 5 scale, we will have advantage to reach to level 4, and so on when it comes to disadvantage. And then what is the net result of it? That okay, so the optimum solution or workable solution, I will say, right?
Mm-hmm.
which will be carrying the scale of around 3, let's say. So let's go with
Sure.
this option, and that kind of as an academic exercise during this TRIZ exercise, or during the course I've done. So I just by remembering that, I was very keen to know that in practical life how these contradictions are looked at when it comes to costing piece.
Yes,
Sorry, it was a
and
bit lengthy, but I just
no,
wanted to
but
explain that.
I could completely get it because practically we see this every time
Yeah,
that
yeah,
for certain contradictions we might have n number of available solutions, and those n number of available solutions will give us certain degree of resolving that contradiction. Something
yeah,
might be doing it at 50% level, just to say, or something might be giving it complete elimination. But while
yeah,
doing that, we have to always look into the we call it as a cost of feature evaluation. And definitely when we are talking about this, you are considering cost, but I also consider the other parameters. Like if you remember the earlier slide, whenever we are talking about any design solution, that design also that design could be really ideal design, but to make that possible, very important is that that design are also manufacturable.
yes,
So
yes,
when we are talking about finding out the entire I would say pug matrix or the decision matrix, where you need to come to the point where you want to be satisfied that this is your best solution you can do given circumstances. So I would say in that scenario, definitely what we do as a team, definitely the cost involved, what is going to be the return on investment, how the solution is going to help us in long term, and is it really making feasible manufacturing process as well. Otherwise, as a design engineer, what I feel always that our design should be good enough to manufacturable, so that suppliers or even our own manufacturing facilities are not doing so much over processing to
yes.
make that possible. And that is where I would say a good designer, a designer's role or expectation would come in picture. And coming to your question again, instead of only cost, I would always look into the holistic approach, so that whatever solution we are talking about, it is a long term and sustainable solution
Right, right.
than it is just fixing that particular one problem. I
Right,
hope that
right. No,
helps.
no, certainly, certainly. I mean, as I said, being the student of TRIZ, I was keen to know your thoughts, which are
Sure.
based on your practical experience in the industry.
Yes, yes,
So thanks for that. Thanks for that
sure,
answer, and
sure.
thank you once again.
Any other question, suggestion, or comment, compliment? Feel free to speak, participants. There are a few questions. I don't know how many of them you would be able to answer, but I'll quickly go through it. Mr. Mohan
Sure.
Kumar Maran says that thank you, ma'am and team, for arranging this webinar. It is helpful to me and gives me new insight on this. You explain practically every topic. So one more
Sure.
appreciation for you.
Thank you.
And again, Mr. Host is there. This requires thorough training, maybe intimidating at first, and is considered relatively sophisticated. What is your viewpoint on bringing TRIZ or parts of it to colleagues on the shop floor level?
Yeah, I would say, considering trees only at a occupational level, uh, might not be the solution. I have seen somewhere, I think Shri sir or someone who also takes tree sessions for kids and children. And I what I understand behind these kind of initiatives, there is more than solving a problem. It is also evolving this thought process and looking into any situation from that aspect of basic functions. What is the contradiction and how I deal into the scenario. So I would say, Mr. Host, definitely when we talk about the occupational requirements, be it a design engineer, be it a manufacturing engineer, be it a shop floor worker, everyone is going to have their own areas where these principles can be looked upon and considered. Yes, you're right. Many a times these technical trainings are overwhelming. However, if we simplify those and we do trimming of those, and if we try to consider the conceptually, I think everyone can get benefited, starting from a smaller kid to any problem, I would say, be it a process related problem or a product related problem or any cultural related problem for that matter. So I'm sorry, it might sound little philosophical, but that is what I feel. At least for trees, what I have seen is it is about the philosophy and the thought process than those specific tools and techniques. So I hope this helps you.
That's perfectly true because it works basically on the creativity of an individual. And if an
Yes.
individual is creative, definitely there would be a positive and good results which will be coming out of that.
Right. So someone said some time back that it is a sure shot formula for innovation. And that comment or that statement itself has a lot of credibility, I would say, when it comes to trees and learning and making trees as a day-to-day life activity.
Yeah. And Triz is
So,
also known for one more thing, like a quick answer from your side. I know you have to go for
yes,
next
I have
meeting.
I have hard
Yeah,
stop at 5.
yeah, yeah. So question is like, if there is a problem, how many ideas we can generate for solving that problem? So did it increase after your learning of Triz?
Definitely. It has increased.
Okay. And substantially increased, right?
Yes, substantially increased.
Okay. Uh, s- so it's if there are no more questions, we'd stop the session for the day. And
Sure.
if still there are some questions, I have already posted on the group info@trizasia.com. You can just post your questions, and we would reach out to Supriya, and we are sure that she would be kind enough to answer those questions, and we'll pass it on to you. And there
Sure.
are many appreciations for you and yeah, Mr. Manoj Kumar says this should start with kids. Lot of idea generation and improvements. Absolutely right, Mr. Manoj Kumar.
Yes.
So with this, only 2 minutes are left. So Supriya, if you want to leave because you have got a meeting, so
Yes.
you may.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot,
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah,
for being so
Thank
nice
you, ma'am.
and
Thank you.
interactive. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank you.
day. Bye.
Thank
yeah.
you.
And before we all leave, I would like to make you aware that next month, last Friday, of course, it won't be on the last Friday because it is 31st and which is a fiscal year end. So we would be having our next race talks on 24th of March. So please stay tuned and we'll be coming up with some more speakers who would be probably from international level and we'll keep alive this TRIZtalks and your contribution will always help. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep sir.
Thank you, Harsha sir, to keep it interactive.
Yeah. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, Sumit.
Thank you. Bye.